Tim, you have said this is the most financially conflicted president ever. You've been saying it for years. And despite that, a lot of people blew that off. But now that it is crystal clear that you've got a president who personally owes $400 million to unknown lenders, does he now have to provide a whole lot more information to the American people to prove he's putting America first?
Well, the information we have already, Steph, shows that he's not putting America first. And I think the Times, to a certain extent, has lowballed his debt. Donald probably has conservatively debt well north of $1 billion. All of this, and he's driving in to the middle of the coronavirus pandemic in his businesses. He's in the exact sectors of the economy that are getting creamed by the pandemic: real estate, travel, leisure. He's getting squeezed around his ability to make money. He's gorged on debt. And at some point, he's going to have to make a decision about either selling his assets or borrowing more money. He has never sold anything in his life, even when it was hemorrhaging cash, which means he'll go looking for a handout, which means he's a mark. It means he's vulnerable. It means he's vulnerable to any foreign country that knows there's someone in the Oval Office who needs a bailout. I think that's the first big takeaway from this. He embodies a national security threat. I think the second thing is everybody pays taxes except Donald Trump. He engineered the biggest tax cut of the last decade. I think one of the biggest tax cuts since the end of World War II. And it benefited the most affluent Americans, it benefited corporate America, and it hurt average Americans, the very people who put him in office. And now we're finding out that he's essentially laughing at them. He engineered his own taxes so he didn't have to pay a dime. He paid $750 the year he got elected. That is $129,250 more than he paid Stormy Daniels.
David, doesn't this blow a hole in the president's argument? He's been saying for years, yep, I optimize my taxes. I know how to work the system to help me. Now I am going to help the country. And since I know where all these loopholes are, I'm going to close them for the American people. We've seen his policies over the last few years. He hasn't closed anything to help the American people. I can think right off the top of my head, since President Trump took office and that huge tax overhaul, you can now completely write off the price of a new private plane, which is why private plane sales have gone up. Will the American people see this isn't just a rich guy who was able to get the system to work for them, but will they see how he's worked it for himself and continues to do so while he's in office?
Well, it is a little subtle, I think, for many Americans to grasp, Stephanie. The fact is that in Donald Trump's first 2 years in office, there was a massive shift of income that we've reported on in 3 pieces at DC Report. The poorest 50 million taxpayers, that's not the poorest 50 million Americans, income went down. And the total amount their income went down by turns out to be exactly the amount by which the incomes of those who make over 10 million a year went up. We have created a new tax system where most people can no longer get a charitable deduction, deduct their mortgage interest. And at the same time, we've seen this explosion of incomes at the top, and that's all by design. And Donald doesn't just use loopholes. Donald was tried twice for civil income tax fraud and lost both cases. He was proven to be a forger in that case and called out by the judge and his own witness for it. And the New Times story makes pretty clear that he's been fabricating deductions, which is what he got in trouble for in those 2 civil tax fraud trials back in the 1980s.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.